Damn, Yo, Moo Time here.
Yo, it's Michael McGarrahan.
Yo, it's Brendan Mascherino.
Howdy, everyone. This is Cameron, the Sweet Escape Crawford, and we got two special guests here. One of them, a previous guest, a man very close to my heart.
Mrs. Clay.
And a teacher who's an all-time greatest of all time.
Thank you, Cam.
Of course. Special guests, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Dana Clay, English teacher.
Yo!
Yes. I'm Nick West. Nick West.
So, as you guys can see, we got an all-star lineup today. This, it's gonna be it's gonna be hard to top. Listen, someone else.
I say it'd be an injustice to have two special guests without some story time.
Oh, I love some stories.
So I actually tell a lot of stories in class, and I try to kind of spread them out a little bit. And I'm going to tell two quick little stories about things that happened to me here at school. And the first one happened a long time ago. I started teaching here in 1995, and I was 23 or 24 years old at the time, and I was teaching all 10th grade. And I had not so great classroom management skills at the time, so the kids were a little squirrely, I guess. And I had one kid in particular, his name was Chris, I'm not gonna mention his last name, but I do remember it, who was always like, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you.
Oh, God.
Just kind of couldn't keep his hands to himself.
Chris
So
Vanderslice.
I stuck him in the back corner of the room, away from everybody else. I tried to ostracize him. And I was doing Julius Caesar, so people are in togas and wooden swords and stuff like that.
Nice.
When I hear a zzz, pop, and the lights go out.
Yo!
And the,
Like the whole school's lights, or just
no,
like
just the English square. Wow. So it was the English
Square.
the square in the hallway,
square.
and I
Wow.
think downstairs, and I think the whole wing actually
Wow.
went out. And at the same time that happened, the lights go out, the kids are freaking out. At the same time that happened, that kid, Chris, slowly fell out of his desk onto the floor.
Oh, gosh.
And it wasn't quite like in a cartoon where the guy's hair is standing on end and he's got black stuff on his face, but it was a little bit like that. Because what he had done was he had taken a paper clip, straightened it out, and stuck it in the outlet to see what would happen.
boy, just go on YouTube. Some guy literally has done that like 5 times.
I'd like to mention he was 15.
That's
Wow.
been a smart cookie.
So I was afraid, yeah, indeed. I was afraid I was not going to get a job at here because my classroom management skills stunk. Nevertheless, here I am 25 years later.
Wow.
Applaud.
Glad you're here.
Story. So, do you know what this kid is up to now? Is he a deadbeat, or is he
I have
chill?
no idea. And in fact, I couldn't remember his last name until I described him to Mrs. Wilson. Do you guys know Mrs. Wilson?
Yeah.
Who graduated with this kid, and she knew him right away. So now I could look him up. I could do a little Google stalking
Do a
if I
little
wanted
research.
to.
So, this kid, wouldn't his parents tell him not to do that when he's like 5?
Exactly. That's why it's a story that I remember.
I have a
Because
question.
it was just so
Rebel
dumb.
What was the process after that?
Oh,
What
yeah,
happened?
boy.
So the custodians came and had to flip multiple circuit breakers.
Wow.
They had to replace that outlet, and then the lights came back on. Yeah.
And did he just kind of leave him be? Like he was just
We
kind
took him
of.
to the nurse.
Oh, okay.
We called
yeah.
the nurse.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they
So
came
did he
and got
pass
him.
Yeah,
out, or
was
did he
he-
just like wake right
He
up?
was just kind of dazed.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Yeah.
Did he get in trouble?
Dazed.
I don't remember. I don't remember if he got in
Couldn't he
trouble.
have technically died?
Technically.
I don't know.
He really died.
It's
I don't know
enough,
how.
like,
I don't know what the
voltage.
voltage is through
Yeah.
a regular outlet. Is it 110?
Let's go for Stein.
This was
Yeah, if Mr.
a
Steinwalker
different
was
country.
here.
That could have been lethal.
Oh yeah.
That's
Wow.
ridiculous.
Kind of deserved it. It's like natural selection.
Yeah. Survival of the
Should know
fittest.
that,
We're
too.
smartest.
Yeah, true.
It's like, come on.
So what's your story, Nick?
All right, so I didn't really have a story planned, but if I were to tell a story, I'm gonna have to reiterate a story I've heard. I'm not gonna say who from because she's a fellow teacher,
Ooh.
but it's an explicit story is why I don't want to kind of out it.
Alright.
It's actually really vulgar, but
Should I do earmuffs or
Nah,
something?
it's funny.
You're gonna want to hear it.
So my history teacher. All right, who shall?
Oh,
rename-
wow,
All
yes.
right, fine. Miss.
Whoa!
All right, go. All right, Miss. So me and Tristan Pete and Brendan Campbell and Gabe Garner and Jude Domidio were messing around during like a project day. And we were just like
Stacked
drawing on the
class.
whiteboard. We were drawing political cartoons and she was like, "What are you guys drawing?" And it wasn't bad. So we were like, "Hey, it's nothing." She's like, "Come on, guys, what are you drawing?" Because she's A and can't get up. B, the smart board's in her way, so it's obstructing her view. And she's just like. She's like, "Come on, like, is it bad?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, how bad could I do something with the expo marker? Like, it can't be horrible. And she goes, "I'll tell you we can do it with an expo marker." I probably shouldn't have said her name, but whatever.
We can
bleep it out.
Okay,
That's a
yeah.
good idea. Bleep it out.
So,
We did that, yeah.
so apparently when she was in middle school, she was a Mr. Is that the science teacher? Yeah,
I
Mr.
think
Giddis's
so, yeah.
class.
Yep, that's right. That's
And
right.
there's these two kids who were like delinquents. They were like really bad, and one of them like it was the bourgeois.
Wait,
No,
really?
okay.
No,
She went to middle school. Oh, I miss those kids. But she was they were like doing something where they were all drawing on like the whiteboard or something, and then one of the kids like dropped his expo marker, so he's bending over to pick it up, and the other kid does exactly what you think he's about to do, but he pulls his pants down in one swift
Oh my
motion,
God.
Oh God!
inserts the expo marker directly into his anal cavity, and
What?
yeah, and then
This isn't real.
I feel like this is
This is
really
100 this is
inappropriate.
not
It's
fabricated.
okay for me to be here for this.
we'll bleep it out.
I mean, you asked me to create a story, like, come up with a story.
Wow.
Wait,
last
so
minute,
this is-
I
Come
had,
up with.
This is
no,
fake.
I mean, no, this is 100% real.
No way.
That's like
This is the most compelling story
So-
I've
was in Mississippi, when Mississippi was a kid, this happened to.
Oh, yeah,
whoa,
when-
bleep,
yeah,
bleep.
we'll bleep it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
When name
The
and
teacher
address.
in question.
Yeah, when name and
Yeah.
address withheld was a kid.
Yeah, when she was in middle school, in 8th
Wow.
grade. These two kids after that went down very rough paths.
I don't know what it was
Wow.
like back in the
So
day,
much
but if
wrong
you did
with
that now, I feel like you'd definitely be taken out like that.
You'd be like.
I mean,
You'd be in an orphanage right now.
Yeah.
is
I think
there a
that's, like,
picture of like
sexual
what
assault.
your punishment would be if you put
Yeah.
an extra marker in your friend's like butt? Like, is there like, oh, back in the day you would have gotten away with it fine, but nowadays people are too soft. You can't put extra markers.
Brag about.
Dang.
I wouldn't be able to recover if someone. I don't even want to think about it, but
You'd
if
have to transfer schools.
I would.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be really
Move to
extreme.
North
Oh, yeah.
Korea.
How much would you guys pay me if I asked that male teacher himself if it happened?
Oh no, he would say
Zero.
yes.
He would
'cause
say
you
yes?
can't. His back was turned, so I guess like
Oh.
he would have a hard time believing it from a fellow student. But I guess
Wait, it was in
was
Mr.
in-
Giddis's class.
It was in the male teacher's class.
yeah.
Yeah, the male
We're allowed to
teacher's
say
class.
his name.
But I mean, also, if you're that teacher, like the kid must have produced like some sort of shriek or noise that no other human knew that someone had the capacity to make. So like, if you heard that like reaction among him and the students who witnessed,
Oh, yeah.
you would know
Yeah.
immediately
Silence
something
is
went
the
down.
best.
So you'd believe a kid. They said, "Yo, someone just got an extra marker, put up his anus." Like, they'd be like, all right.
For real.
I believe that.
Wow.
I'll believe it.
Anus is a bad word.
So,
I mean, it's
That's a crazy
I mean, it's
story.
not a
It's a
clean
biological word. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
Yeah.
medical
learning a
term.
health class.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm just being polite.
Human anatomy.
That's a middle school classics. Well, that's actually not classic. It's really sad, but.
Oh, class. Everyone has that
Classic
middle
wonder.
school.
It's a middle school
experience.
tragedy.
Yeah, it is a tragedy.
So I have another story to tell, which is
yeah.
not as compelling as Nick's, but nevertheless kind of funny. So once upon a time, ISS used to be here at West. So if you were in trouble, you would be sent to the room for the whole day. And my duty was to cover ISS every day. So I had to teach 5th, and then I had to get down to the other end of the building for 6th to cover this class. And I was always like late and like running through the halls and trying to get to there on time because the teacher who currently teaches at East would get really angry if I was late. So I was trying to be a good person and get there on time. So on this day, I'm like power walking down the back hallway by the band room, and Mr. Criswell should you beep his name?
We can.
We can
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with
Guidance counselor was walking down the hallway with his Wawa coffee cup, and he's like, "Hey Dana, where are you going?" And I turned and looked over my shoulder, and I said, "I have to go cover ISS." And I turned and looked, and someone had opened the back orchestra door, and it hit me in the eye and the nose, swept me off my feet. I landed on my butt, and I thought I broke like my cheekbone.
Oh gosh.
So,
Wow.
Mr. Guidance Counselor helped me to the nurse's office, and I went home.
That's
Man.
What the English department immediately did was run down to the security station to watch the video of me getting wiped out.
Class.
And the next day, when I came into the English office with a black eye, there were 50 color-copied screen grabs wallpapering the English office, like all around me getting knocked off my feet.
That's
so
amazing.
And I still have
crazy.
one of them. I have one of the screen grabs in my
Wow.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah,
Where?
I saved
Is it
one.
hung up, or
I'll show it
is
to you tomorrow.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's on my bulletin
Send
board.
us a picture. We'll put it.
Yeah, we'll put it.
Okay.
Put it.
Cover
Maybe
art.
the
The
thumbnail.
quality isn't
Okay.
that good, but
It's fine.
yeah.
Wow.
Of course, he's a band kid. That's
Yeah,
so
of course it's
Oh,
the
of
band.
course.
Oh, well, then the other
Man.
thing is, it was a girl who fled, immediately fled
So what's the only
into the
option?
orchestra room, right?
little
And then
rude.
it turned out that I had her in class next year,
Oh,
the following year,
whoa.
as an 11th
That's a field
grader.
day
Wow.
right there.
And when I told the story, she like tentatively raised her hand and said, "That was me, I'm sorry."
Automatic F
Wow.
for the year.
Yeah,
That's extra credit.
Honestly,
Extra credit.
honesty.
knocking me
Wow.
out.
You have
Wow.
an F.
That's
Let's give a
crazy.
couple of kind of sad stories. Typically, we have more upbeat stories. on the
Really?
I mean,
podcast.
Nick
No, we
getting
don't.
almost
Nick-
killed.
yeah,
is
Nick
not
almost
too-
died on his last story, so I guess this is an upgrade.
Not really.
Let's talk some Tarantino.
Oh,
Shall
jump
we?
in straight into it.
Oh.
Will you take it away?
All
getting
right,
into
so I believe it's the year 2009 we're going back to. A fantastic filmmaker by the name of Quentin Tarantino dropped, in my opinion, his second best movie, Inglorious Basterds.
All
And
right.
I'd love to discuss this movie. And before anyone says it, so that I can take it right away, the opening scene is one of the greatest
Oh, it's
scenes in
amazing.
cinema.
It's amazing.
Did the two of you both have a chance to watch it? Or
Yeah.
no?
Yes.
No, I did.
Alright,
Awesome.
I watched a
Yeah.
handful of Tarantino movies.
Yo.
Yeah, comparing.
Now,
Alright.
what's your number one? Can I ask that?
That's
Oh,
Oh.
it's always going to be Pulp
Yeah.
Fiction for me.
Okay.
I think the screenplay in that movie is on another level.
I would agree.
But yeah, that opening scene is the best thing Tarantino's ever written, in my opinion.
Wow.
It's so
It's amazing.
good. It's
The
so
dialogue
good.
is crazy.
I think Christoph Waltz really carries that movie.
Oh,
He was
100%.
my-
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if Tarantino hadn't found him, I don't know that the movie would have been as successful as it was.
Oh, yeah.
And I think Christoph Waltz really deserved the Oscar that
Definitely.
He was
year.
just such
Which
a
one was he?
nasty. He was
The,
He's Hans Landa,
right?
the
He's
opening
Hans
scene.
Landa.
He was the Nazi guy.
oh,
Like the
yeah.
detective
Right, he's
guy.
taking the
Yeah.
bill.
Yeah, I
and
didn't want to
that,
say that.
He was
but-
great.
He's just
Yeah,
such a
amazing.
nasty
He was good.
character, and
But I
it's
hear
so
he's a
impressive.
lovely man in real life.
I
He
that's
seems
so, that's so
like
hard to
it.
believe. I can't see him like being.
I
I mean, in
Nice.
Django
That's
Unchained,
crazy.
he's more of a goodish
Oh, he is?
guy. I mean, in Tarantino movies, it's
Wow.
tough to say good guy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, he's
That's wow.
He certainly smiles more in that movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question to pose. So do you
I got an
think?
answer to pose.
Do you think like some characters like their role in the movie like affects what people think of them if that's their first encounter with them?
Meaning, is Christoph Waltz always
Yeah.
going to be Hans Landa?
Yeah,
Something
like
like-
if I see a guy in a Nazi uniform for the first time, I can't see him like outside, like oh, it's a Nazi. Like I just immediately will think that, like regardless. But
I
if
guess it's-
you know more about that person, no, it's just like just a roll with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for an initial interaction, I would hope that people have a negative reaction towards him because he's an amazing actor. They should somewhat feel that. Whereas if he gave a lame performance, it would be like, all right,
It's just a
Yeah,
good
it's
just
thing.
a
that
guy
people
in
I
like.
a
think
suit.
I
Yeah.
think it really shows if they're a good actor or not. Like if you
Right.
sell that character so much that that person can't get over the fact that you're this really mean person or really nice person, I don't know. I think that shows that you're a really great actor.
So in other words, if a viewer has like a visceral reaction to your performance, then that's
Yeah.
quality.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think that Diane Kruger is the one that I do that with. Like if I see her in another movie, I think of her role in Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah, she was
Oh,
great.
speaking of seeing someone somewhere else and looking at them is different. The guy from The Office was in Inglorious Bastards. I couldn't take
okay, no
if
bad.
you're in The Office,
Ryan.
I just can't take you seriously. Like that's like your
Yo,
staple.
but his character's
Except,
so funny
Michael
in the
Scott.
movie. Like,
Is he the guy that like bashes?
he's the little man.
Little man.
Okay.
Oh,
Yep.
oh,
Yep.
oh.
In The Office, youngest CEO in Dunder Mifflin history. But I kind of know what you mean. When I was watching The Departed, Scorsese,
Amazing.
I had a hard time viewing Matt Damon as a bad guy, just because I don't picture him being a bad guy.
I know.
It's Matt Damon. He's amazing.
He's so awesome.
An amazing actor, regardless.
But he is usually like the leading man.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
protagonist.
Yeah, the good guy.
Yeah.
But I actually thought Brad Pitt was amazing
He's
in Inglorious
so,
Bastards.
his
Yeah, I like
comedic
that.
timing
He's
is
so good.
That's great.
amazing. Great delivery. And the scene where they're pretending to be Italian is...
Oh
Oh,
god,
that's-
his Italian accent.
that's
immediately
hilarious.
Yeah.
Immediately
So
goes
good.
in.
Salami.
Yeah.
I was so my heart was racing the whole time. I'm like, he knows. Like,
Oh, yeah, he had the shoe.
yeah, I know. That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
he
And
knew.
I'm like, he knows the whole time, and my heart's just racing. Like, when is he gonna like tell them? Like, I wish I could just tell
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Some
great.
classic
That he knows.
dramatic irony.
Yeah.
Oh, do we get Socratic seminar points if we say something like really
Like
good?
using rhetorical strategies
Yeah,
and
he
things
said
like that.
dramatic irony.
You know, Alfred Hitchcock said that the definition of dramatic irony is when you have a bunch of people sitting around a table like this,
Bomb
and then
on
the
table.
camera pans underneath, and you can see the time bomb
Yup.
ticking
Yeah.
underneath the table.
They do
But
something like
that's-
that.
Yeah, they
in
do that.
Touch of
They do
Evil,
that.
The opening scene, they put the bomb on the car,
Yep.
and it just keeps on going.
Yeah.
They did that in when they're sitting in the auditorium about to watch the film. Just goes down.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
Right,
The
right,
leg,
right.
the
That
leg.
circle
To it, it
shot.
goes down to his ankles, and it's just tick tock.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
I think something underrated about Tarantino is how well paced his movies are
I
because
completely
I think it's
agree. Oh
beautiful
my
done.
gosh.
2 hours, 35 minutes, every single beat of the movie works so
Oh, yeah.
well. It flows so nicely, and the editing is also insane.
So I read a little bit about Inglorious Bastards, and speaking of people like BJ Novak, that's kind of an unusual casting. He tried to get Adam Sandler to be one of the guys
That
in the
ruined the
movie.
movie.
But Adam
Yeah.
Punch on
Sandler,
glove.
but Adam Sandler was making another one of his comedies, and so he
Oh.
didn't want
Have
to
to give-
leave
Oh,
that
yeah.
in
Oh.
order.
It's in 2009. I think it was like 50 First Dates or something.
Something
he was
like that,
making.
yeah.
He really turned down a Tarantino
Exactly,
movie.
For
and that's
that.
what I thought. Like, you know,
Classic
the,
Adam
his
Sandler.
the rest of his career might have been completely different if he had
Yeah.
taken him up on that
Wow.
offer.
Going back to what we were saying about the actors, though, it's like I've seen so many Adam Sandler movies. It's like I would never be able to take him seriously.
Oh,
in
watch
that.
Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
I think there's more to him than he really lets
Yeah,
us
so-
see.
I think so
Yeah.
too. I don't know. I just get like a comedic vibe from him.
Mm-hmm.
Can't take him seriously.
Yeah.
A lot of times, comedic actors are usually the best dramatic actors. When, like Jim Carrey, for example, is a great dramatic actor. Simon
Yeah.
Pegg.
Eternal.
Simon Pegg.
That's right.
Yeah, Eternal Sunshine, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is
Who else?
something.
Dig it.
Will Ferrell was pretty good in Stranger Than Fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a good one.
I agree.
So where does this rank among your one Tarantino movies and two war movies or war related?
Yeah, I
movies?
wouldn't call it a war movie, but
So
Yeah, watch it later.
I think I agree with Moo that Pulp Fiction is his masterpiece.
yeah.
And I remember when it came out, and I saw it in the movie theater when it came out, and it really was surprising at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And for a couple of reasons. The first was that John Travolta was kind of a has-been
Yeah.
at the time. And people like kind of laughed at the idea of him being in a serious role. And so to see a director take someone whose career had already kind of ended and revive it the way he did, I thought was incredible. And I also think that the dialogue is
Oh, yeah.
what's
Oh, yeah.
most fantastic about that film.
It
You know, and also the
hugely
narrative
influenced.
structure, the way that
Yeah.
the Vega character dies a half an hour and before the end of the film, and then we see him again. Like that kind of
Yeah.
non-linear
Yeah.
structure
Yeah,
is what.
that's what I
like
like.
the ending of the movie being in the middle with the golden
Yes.
watch and then
Correct. Yeah. Correct.
like, coming
yeah.
back to the coffee shop.
So, and in terms of war movies, if we want to call Inglorious Bastards a war movie, I think there are better ones.
Oh yeah.
But nevertheless, it's probably in the top couple of Tarantino. I really like Django Unchained,
Django's
I just watched that
wonderful.
last night.
and I liked Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs is
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
great. That was like that was his first movie.
Right.
So that's when he just exploded on the scene.
Yeah.
And
And I think they're all in the same universe, aren't they? Most
yeah,
of his
yeah,
films
there's
are in the same
like
universe.
with the cigarettes and all that, same ones.
Yep.
But I think a lot of people look at a movie and they're like, "Oh, this actor's in it." Like, I'll give an example: Robert Pattinson, the guy in Twilight. Like, my sister, when I told her, I'm like, "You have to see this movie, Good Time." He's absolutely insane in the movie. It's like, that's the guy from Twilight. He was so bad in that. But I think a lot of people don't realize how much director influences the performance.
Correct.
Like, so many bad actors can be really good under good direction, and Tarantino's pretty good at that. Like, a lot of people were doubting Channing Tatum in The Hateful Eight, and I'm like, just wait, Tarantino, and turned out pretty good performance.
Right.
Or you said, look at Roma. Alfonso Cuarón took the
Oh yeah,
teacher. Was she?
yeah.
teaching?
She was waiting for a teaching job and said she had nothing better to do, so she just auditioned, and then she ended up giving an Oscar-nominated performance.
That's ridiculous.
That's insane. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's like winning the lottery.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed a lot of the cinematography. I had to re-watch a lot of the scenes because I was so interested in like what the camera was doing. Because sometimes when I watch a movie, I enjoy like watching the movie for what the story is, and then I go back and watch just from like a filmmaker's perspective of it.
Right.
And some of the camera work is ridiculous. Like when they start like with the scene where the opening scene, I guess, when he's like drinking the milk, and it just
Yep.
like jibs down to
Under the floorboards.
under the floorboards and down to their feet and keeps going, and you can see their eyes through the wood on the floor. I thought that
Like
was
the sunlight coming
yeah,
out of the
that's
floor.
just
amazing.
it was beautiful. And what I really liked about the film is like sometimes you knew what was gonna happen, not based on camera work, but like in the story, like when they both had their guns under the table, pointing them at each other. I'm like, there's no way this guy's gonna like actually shoot him.
Yeah.
And he just comes in.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
the
Tarantino.
gore in his movies is like
It's
so
so
blatant.
good.
It's so
Yeah.
fun.
Because you're
Yeah.
not thinking it's gonna happen.
You
but
think
it
he's
just
the
goes.
camera's gonna
It's
like
just
steer away or go to a different shot like while it happens, but like he just keeps it on
Yeah.
the thing like when he's
Especially
carving in
the end
oh,
shot.
Yeah,
That's
that's so.
scary.
I was like,
love that.
ugh, but I was like
like-
happy at the same time.
Yeah.
It was like
I was shutting my eyes when they were like showing like the guy like scraping his
crazy.
hair off. I'm like,
Oh yeah, that, oh my gosh.
they just had it in the back, like they didn't have to include that, but
No.
it was in the background was the thing. Like he was intentional.
Yep.
That was cool.
He makes his thing is he has like two types of violence in his movies. One is like the movie over the top super fun violence, and then in a case like Django, he has some realistic violence just to show the horror of the time. And I find his violence just so much fun in like his over the top sense, like Kill Bill when like blood is spraying
yeah, so
everywhere.
that's
It's
ridiculous.
just so
So good, Kill Bill.
cinematic.
Yeah.
It's much better than a PG-13 movie where people get shot and there's zero consequence as well.
Yeah, you talked about that, like your
Yeah.
whole the expense of not having a consequence.
Yeah, the Fortnite.
Yeah.
I love that scene in Inglorious Basterds that takes place in the basement.
Yes.
When they play the headbands
Yep.
game.
yes.
And right, where it's like, what is it, this versus the
Yeah, isn't that
three
amazing?
fingers,
Yeah, three or-
very subtle. And I think that to speak to cinematography, I think that that's a great example of Tarantino using physical space to evoke a mood.
Yeah.
So it's a very claustrophobic, dark, underground space.
Of course.
That it kind of heightens, I think, the suspense and how we're waiting for something, to
Yeah.
happen. So I think that was masterful.
Yeah.
The space that he selected for that scene.
That's one of his best scenes as well, I think. Like, just that cut to the three, and it just cuts straight to the reaction of the officer, just like, wait a minute, that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
And the
awesome.
tragedy of that young soldier dying.
Oh, yeah, on
As he
his-
celebrates the birth of his child, like that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
Yeah.
that kind of absurdity. I think Tarantino does a good job of highlighting.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of the absurd nature of war, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's funny when I was in middle school, I was like studying German for like the first time, and our teacher like mentioned something about that. We were learning about like just culture and how they start with the thumb, go like this, and she's like, yeah, and I don't remember the name of the movie, but she said like there's this one movie like they were in. And like the basement, that's considered like a bar area, isn't it? Yeah. So like they were in. They said she mentioned the movie. I didn't know I forgot the name, but like she said that had happened. Like and a detective was able to figure out that someone was American based on their fingers, and I kind of forgot about it. But then I was over at watching it at Moo's house. And all of a sudden that happens, and I was like, oh my gosh! Like I just immediately flashed back to like eighth grade, and I was like,
grade,
oh
right.
my gosh! I was like, I remember my teacher saying that, so I thought that was crazy that I just had no intention, or I didn't even realize. I didn't know it was gonna be coming up in the movie. I didn't
Right.
even know the name of the movie, and then I got to see it. But yeah, I thought that was amazing. And in terms of space, I think it's really cool at the end of that scene when like you have. When you have like the two different levels, I guess you can say, when he's upstairs and he's saying like, and they're trying to make the deal like, hey, you do this, it's kind of creates like that mystery, like what are they doing up there?
Yeah.
Is he gonna come down? Like what is he gonna have? Like kind of guns and then that's
Oh,
separate. Like
yeah,
he can't see him
staircase.
because
Yeah.
in the staircase because he can't see what he's got down there.
Yeah.
And then he
Yeah.
can't see what the what
That's
was
when
it?
Aldo
yeah.
was on the steps, right?
Yeah, on the steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, the steps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aldo
Going from
Raymond.
like, I love when filmmakers do the thing where they will start at like one level of like say a house or something, and they'll go through the floorboards down to another
like
one.
an opening, you mean?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And also like the crazy one takes. Did anyone pick up
Oh
on
yeah,
that?
the bird's eye view one.
The bird's eye view, like
It's
tracking them
amazing.
down the steps, following them, and then like, I love when you'll like lose focus on a character and it'll just stay on the character that cross frame
Yes,
or
that
something.
crosses. Yep.
Yeah, I'm just like, wow, that's like, it plays with your mind, but if you think about it, it was like, how did they do that? Like,
Great
they must have had to
modeling.
rehearse that
Great
so many times. So,
There's a director that's well known for that. Who was the director of The Life Aquatic? Is that Wes Anderson?
Oh, Wes Anderson,
Wes
yep.
Anderson. He does a lot of those cutaways.
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
he
Yeah,
that's
kind of
correct,
goes through
yeah.
the submarine and The Life Aquatic, and
we just talked about
Rushmore.
Rushmore.
Yeah, Rushmore.
that's
yeah.
a great movie.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
But I think there's something quite wonderful about seeing Hitler just getting absolutely shot.
I
in the
know.
face.
Oh yeah, like way more times than it was necessary.
I would
I find necessary with Hitler.
You know, keep talking. I gotta come out with my list because I watched 3 or 4 movies in a row that all just had like the best justice at the end. It was Inglorious Basterds, Black Klansman, Clockwork Orange. All of them
Clockwork Orange.
at the end. All right. Anyway,
I know what you mean.
All of them. I was just like so like content at the end.
You were content at the end of Clockwork Orange?
Oh, very much so.
Ah.
Just
At the end,
justice.
hasn't he been?
Oh,
how does
Careful,
it
careful,
end?
careful.
Michael
oh,
Cookie,
you haven't-
speak
okay.
I'll let you know after the
I
cat's
haven't
Okay.
fight.
well,
Okay.
I hate to interrupt,
but
but I can't
it's-
spoil that.
But yeah, there's just something satisfying about the good guys coming out victorious at the end of this because I was prepping for
Oh,
the
yeah.
worst. I'm like, how are they gonna get out of this? Like, they're gonna die. That's fine. But
It's so
it was a
funny.
really cool ending, and especially that the bad Nazi guy, Christoph Waltz.
Yeah.
He
The carving in the head.
yeah, he wanted to be a traitor, but then Brad Pitt gave him
It's
what
like
was coming.
The old.
It's like,
Even at
You
the
gotta
end
take
when they're
off that-
carving,
Yeah.
carving it into his head, and it's so close, and,
and
you
then
can see the
it's
skin.
so
and all that.
funny. Oh my gosh! And then he's like,
It's
"This
funny.
might be my masterpiece," and
Oh,
then it
yeah.
just cuts
Yeah.
to direct by
It's not
Tarantino.
masterpiece.
Oh,
it's
man,
like-
that's goosebumps right there.
It's like first person, like looking up at him, and they're like
Yeah.
carving into his head. It's so funny.
It's just the build up to that scene. He's like, "Well, I can't not have you be labeled as a Nazi," and then it just
Everyone
cuts to that
knows,
like,
yeah.
ah.
Yeah. And something about Pulp Fiction versus this movie. So I was really into this movie from the first second all the way to the end. With Pulp Fiction, I felt like after the movie was over and I let time pass a little bit, I was just thinking about it a lot. And in my mind, I enjoyed it more looking back on it. Like, it was kind of hard to process immediately, but thinking about all the stuff with Travolta and Bruce Willis and how it wasn't chronological order, I think it just was a lot more meaningful to me after I watched it.
I think Tarantino like progressively grows as a filmmaker, like as a director, but that screenplay, like
Oh yeah.
even though his direction is better in Inglorious Basterds, I don't think he'll ever be able to top just the level of entertainment and subtext in that dialogue.
Oh yeah. There's so many things that just go over my head when I watch it that I don't even know is happening.
I think a similar movie would be the first time you see The Sixth Sense.
Oh,
yeah.
And then-
Has everyone here
Exactly.
seen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where
yeah.
okay, well I'm not going to give it away then, but
Alright.
where in hindsight, when you're
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about the movie,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of pieces fall into place, and I think that that's true with Pulp Fiction as well. Like
definitely.
you don't really think about how convoluted and complex the narrative is until it's all done and all the pieces have been put
Yeah.
together for
Yeah.
you.
And actually, I said this before, but these boys didn't relate. Oh, I guess it was just me. I feel the same way about Fight Club.
Oh, Fight
Yeah.
Club is way crazier.
Dude, I said it was similar to Sixth Sense, and you're like, no.
No, the twist is not similar.
The twist is exactly the
No,
same.
the twist is not similar.
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
that it definitely changes your entire thinking of the movie, but I don't think the twist itself is similar. But
Well,
I
you're
disagree.
you're talking about the twist as like somebody is not who we thought he was.
Yeah.
So in that way, it might be a little similar, but the literal
Yeah.
you know device isn't. So what do you guys think is in the suitcase in Pulp Fiction?
I was just
oh
about
my
to ask that.
gosh. Oh man.
All right. Well, I was not creative and did not develop my own thoughts, so I was kind of like doing some Google
Yeah,
research.
you Googled.
One of the things said, if you notice, the headshot of Marcellus Wallace, he has a Band-Aid, and there was something, maybe it was like a biblical thing, but in some era or culture, it was thought that if you have like, your soul is taken out of like this part of your neck, so they thought it was his soul in the suitcase, which I don't even know how that makes any sense.
But the guy in the coffee shop, like, is that what I think it is? So like, he wouldn't have known.
I mean, I just think like he is a ruthless leader. So I mean, like money.
When I first saw it, I thought it was the Holy Grail. I don't know why.
No, that makes sense.
That's why it glowed. You know, when they opened up the suitcase.
Yes, true.
You know that it was something like that. That, yeah. I don't know.
Something like that relates to like money because like everyone who admired it was in it for the money. Like the guy when he was robbing the coffee shop, he was like,
Yeah.
"Is that what I think it is?" So, and then the fact like everyone was going for that was working for Marcellus, like they had to go like shoot Brett for it and everything. Like it's something that everyone
Look at the
who
brains on
there's so many great quotes in that movie. Like I've been
Oh.
quoting it since I watched it.
Oh yeah.
So
Like
no.
the wolf too. That's like,
I saw it
I
in like
fix problems.
7th grade, so it was very tough because
Oh.
no one had seen it, and I'm just sitting here like, oh my gosh, the amount of power I have right now.
So what did you, just to go back to Inglorious Bastards, what did you guys think of the like German dialogue, like only 30% of the movie being in English?
I
Like,
love
I
it.
loved it so much.
I thought it was
Love
so awesome. I was so mad that I took Spanish instead of taking German.
Dude, it was good.
Because I wish I could like I love watching like Spanish movies sometimes and like or even like Spanish songs, listening to them and picking up on like some words and trying to piece it together.
Yeah.
Tu mama
So-
también.
Listen, I don't want to talk about it. And being able to pick up on it, and I think Michael probably could relate to a lot of the stuff they were saying, maybe pick up
Yeah.
on some of the words.
I love it and I hate it. I love it because that for that reason I'm always trying to pick it up. I'm just learning watching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Moo might have he probably didn't hear me, but like I know there's definitely some parts and I'd be like watching like I like whispering like oh yeah like this word like that word. I'd be like mumbling German or something like that. I don't know like just because like just talking
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
I'd hear them say it. But also
Having a
I
bad
hate
dream.
it though because like. Because it's in German, it's something like I don't know fully, but I understand at least a little bit of it. My mind is always working really hard to try to pick it up without looking at the subtitles. So like, as if it was like Spanish, where I just like, nothing makes sense to me. I'm okay to just take it in as it is and read like even though you don't really notice it, they're like just read the subtitles. But when I can sort of like half understand the speaking part and then always read. Sometimes it's like forcing me. And I'm trying to work hard to like understand what they're saying, as opposed to just getting lost into like and like as opposed to taking in what they're saying. I'm trying to like figure out like what their words are. But yeah, but I think I love it and hate it for those reasons. But I thought it was cool.
Moo, what do you think from the perspective of subtitles? Like, I enjoyed having the subtitles, but I was thinking while I was watching, I'm like, what made them choose the color, like, yellow for, like, the lettering? Like,
Oh, that's some
I've never...
classic Tarantino.
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
loves
I've
his
just,
yellow
like,
text.
I've never, like, thought about it. Like, should you choose, like, the color according to, like, what mood you're going for and, like,
Well,
the film?
one, I think that Tarantino, and I also think that yellow, like that bold yellow, is a very appealing color to choose. And then also, yeah, I think it fits the tone because it's a lot of warm hues, so like it's not super, like it doesn't take you out of the movie. if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
will.
I was surprised. I was like, wow, yellow is actually pretty nice to look at, but I normally don't like the color
Yeah,
yellow.
in
So
The Godfather, if you turn on the captions on the Blu-ray, it's like the sepia tint
That's cool.
subtitles. I usually watch all the movies, even English movies, with subtitles because I
same.
feel
I used to
like
do that back in
Yeah.
the day. Yeah.
I think I just gain more from it,
Oh,
and
yeah. Hardcore.
it doesn't distract me.
Also, about the different language stuff, there was a good amount of French as well.
Yeah.
Maybe even more than Deutsch. But so I think that
Probably
was
half
cool
and half.
because for me, maybe I'm just a
Did
little
you
bit.
take French?
No, I
Oh.
took Latin.
Great class.
Used that.
We don't consider that a language.
It's a
around
dead
here.
language. No.
Is that Latin?
And I was a bit of a Spanish connoisseur back in the day, but I think it's weird just because like I feel like for a lot of English people it's English and then another language, whereas like they had German and French, so it's cool to
Yeah.
kind of hear the
And Italian.
differences.
And Italian.
And I think Christoph Waltz is fluent in all of those languages.
That's
Wow.
insane.
Yeah.
That's
why
insane.
it's such a like once in a lifetime casting right,
Right.
there. Like
Yeah.
a good actor that can speak multiple languages. That's perfect.
You
for
can
the
tell he's
script.
not just like memorizing it like the
Phonetically.
words. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Phonetically.
Oh,
yeah.
when he just starts riffing Italian at the movie, I was so impressed. Well, not impressed
Yeah.
because, you know, it's kind of what you expect, but I was like, wow, that is beautiful to listen to.
I didn't expect it because like he already presents it with German, then he
Yeah.
goes to English, then we know he speaks French, and then it's like I didn't expect
Yeah,
that he'd
that's
be able
crazy.
to that he would that character would know
Yeah.
Italian. I didn't.
And it
think
was
that.
funny to see all their reactions to it. They just like crap their pants.
Yeah.
They're like, holy crap, he knows this language too.
What
And
do
I
you
thought that
guys
was funny.
What do you guys think of the music Tarantino chooses? I think it's insanely good. Like even though like you'd think that some of the Western scores he uses in like the bear Jew scene and all that, you'd think that wouldn't work in a period piece, but then it just works so well. It's just so entertaining.
Oh yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Is the soundtrack anachronistic in this one? Like, is
Yeah.
it spaghetti western?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he used
I
some
didn't
like
really pay
Ennio
attention to it.
Morricone songs
Yeah.
and that, but I think it just like it almost like that's like his style, like in the sense that
Yeah.
it trademarks a
Mm-hmm.
Tarantino movie kind of.
I think that goes along with what I said about him reviving John Travolta's career because he has sometimes picked artists and put them in the soundtrack and have kind of
yeah.
revived
Yeah.
them as well.
Uh,
I think Jackie Brown, the soundtrack from
That
Jackie
is
Brown
an
did
awesome
that.
soundtrack.
Yeah.
I felt like, so whether it's good or bad, I think some of the music kind of removed me emotionally a bit, in the sense that like, yeah, it distracted me because, like they're playing David Bowie, which is great. I love
Yeah.
David Bowie, but I'm like, all right, obviously David Bowie was not in 1940s France. So it just like kind of caught my attention. It took me out of the moment, I guess you could say, but I appreciate the music he chose.
I think for me, if he was like, I feel like he establishes so early on that he's not going for like a realistic period piece. I think
Yeah.
that's why it
Yeah.
didn't distract me as much as say like if an actual biopic was using songs from the 2000s in a World War II movie, then I'd be like, I don't know about that one. But for this, like Tarantino establishes a style like from the beginning with some awesome music.
Now, do you think that that goes along with the idea that all of these movies are set in sort of a universe that's different from our universe? That the music that he chooses kind of underlines that alienness, if that's a
Yeah.
word. Do you know what I mean? Like kind of difference from
Yeah.
Yeah.
from the way a period piece would
Almost like-
look and sound.
Bridges the gap
To
of
be
time.
honest, I think
Uh-huh.
also-
Yeah.
I also think that the yellow text does that in a way as well because as soon as I saw that, and it's the same thing with Pulp Fiction, it's like, oh yeah, Quentin Tarantino, this is not just,
Strange things are going to happen.
yeah, like it's about to go down.
I think his style of like absurd things happening, like intentionally doing it, kind of like makes it easier for him to like write because there can be holes and things. There can be like Deus Ex Machina, but it covers it up because his style is like so satirical. Like it doesn't matter. Like in Django, like he didn't miss a single shot, but like it's okay because that was like the whole like he was a born like natural. So like it's just part of the thing where it's like it's so like ridiculous that it just makes sense.
I think of like the tooth bobbing on the top of
Yeah.
the wagon in
Yeah.
Django as like a visual representation of that absurdity. You know that this is a strange world
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we're observing.
Tarantino's been pretty good in the sense that he's influenced a lot of young filmmakers. Like, for me at least, when I was in 7th grade, that was when I was watching a ton of movies, and Tarantino was always the one with my parents where there's always a little iffy because they're like, I don't know about that one. That might be a little too much. I'm like, please, I have to see it. I have to.
Classic
And
baby move.
until then, it was just Christopher Nolan and David Fincher and Scorsese kind of that I knew by like name. But I'm like, I've heard so many good things about Pulp Fiction. So the first one I was allowed to watch was Django, and then
That's surprising. Wow.
Yeah, that was cool.
yeah, I don't think they like remembered which ones were which, but
Who was the
but straight
young
after
cast?
Django, I just like watched them all, and
Yeah.
then they were fine with it because they realized I could separate the fiction from reality
Right.
quite easily, but yeah, I was just hooked on his movies and very inspired to make more stuff because of watching them. And I think he's done that for a lot of young filmmakers because or just young people in general, getting them into cinema, because a lot of times when I talk with people in this school at least, I'm like, who's your favorite director? 9 out of 10 times they're gonna say Quentin Tarantino at this age. And
Now, I think that that's an American thing not to know the names of directors. When I've taught film study in the past, I always am careful to say that in Europe, if you go to the movies, you're not going to see an actor, you're going to
Yup.
see the director.
Yeah.
And so I wonder if people relying on Tarantino as their favorite is because they know his name.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't know a lot of other directors' names.
His name has like a ring to it, so it's like
Yeah.
easier
Yeah.
to like
I think before this podcast, personally, I'm guilty of that too. It's like I'm so interested in these movies and so many movies, but I can hardly remember like who was in it, and like I'm just maybe that's me being bad with names, or maybe that's just like you were saying, it's just like Americans, and
We
they're-
go for the story, not
Yeah,
for the
yeah, yeah.
craft.
yeah,
You know, and I
exactly.
think Europeans go
Definitely.
for, this might be generalizing, but for the director's craft.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
the film making decisions.
Yeah.
because when I'm talking with people, they're like, what's your most anticipated movie of the year? And I'm like, oh, it's in 2017 at least. I'm like, oh, it's Phantom Thread, 100%. And Dunkirk and Baby Driver. They're like, what? It's not like the new Avengers movie or something? I'm like, yeah, but these are Paul Thomas Anderson and Christopher Nolan. And they're like,
Yeah. Who are they?
Yeah.
Moo's always like, tell me about movies. He's like, oh, it's this and this. Like, you have to see. I'm like,
Oh,
who?
yeah.
Like, you always name drop. I'm like,
Mikhail
who are these people,
Haneke.
dude?
I've recommended like all his movies to you.
Like, I don't even know who that is. So like,
Funny guy.
Yeah, I think there's probably only a handful of directors that an average American would know, like Spielberg, Lucas.
Yeah.
Scorsese.
Maybe if they like foreign films, Akira Kurosawa.
Oh, so good.
But other than that,
Mm-hmm.
Scorsese, yeah, probably,
Yeah.
And then Tarantino, but
and Tarantino, yeah. I think that's changing though. I do think that that's becoming.
Yeah.
oh yeah.
The director is becoming recognized more and more for the skill
Yeah.
and the effort
Yeah,
it takes to create
definitely.
a
Yeah.
film.
This is gonna sound weird, but I almost even believe that like YouTube has an impact on that too, just because maybe people are realizing like, oh, like look at this YouTuber, he's like filming all the time and he's making these cool videos, and maybe they're starting to like look into like filmmaking as a whole, and maybe it's becoming more popular just based off of these like creators on like YouTube and stuff, because I know that's like growing like crazy. Like people are doing reviews on movies on YouTube, they're making films on there, so maybe that has an
I think too
effect.
the technology that is at an average person's disposal makes that really easy to
Yeah.
try to learn how to edit, and thus get an appreciation for how difficult it is.
Yeah.
You know, to
Yep.
shoot a cohesive film.
Yeah.
You know, something that makes sense narratively.
Exactly.
A lot of I was getting a little angry at the YouTube comments section the other day because, well, Paul Thomas Anderson's my favorite director and all, but in videos that compare him and Quentin Tarantino, all the comments are always like, how could you even compare them? Quentin Tarantino makes schlock and Paul Thomas Anderson makes art. I'm like, I love Paul Thomas Anderson more than probably anyone, but Quentin Tarantino doesn't make schlock. There's so much artistic, like, talent behind his work. Like, he makes entertainers for sure. He doesn't make like a lot of pondering pieces, if you will, but that's a whole art on its own. Like, being able to entertain an audience so well through your dialogue is extremely difficult. And for a theatrical experience, I'll go to the theater and see a Tarantino movie without, like, if the plot sucks, I don't even care because it says Tarantino on it. It's going to be entertaining.
There's something to be said for knowing what you do well and doing it
Mm-hmm.
as well as you can, and I think that's what Tarantino does.
Yeah.
You know, he's good at like quick conversations and complex dialogue.
Yeah.
and so he kind of embraces that strength.
Definitely.
Yeah, well,
Some good stuff.
great film.
Yeah.
Great film.
I guess I'll just put a spoiler warning on the video beforehand
Oh,
and
yeah.
in the title.
This
Because,
time you say it. Too.
There's always spoilers.
oh,
You
exactly.
gotta,
Podcast.
you gotta expect that.
You gotta
Yeah,
just
you gotta
like,
listen to
You
listener,
can't go on the
gotta-
yeah.
podcast.
If you listen to the week before, you're watching the movie to listen to the podcast to listen for next week's movie.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a process. So get in.
So
the
people have
link.
homework, in other words.
Exactly.
Exactly that.
Do we have any shout outs or announcements?
Shadows.
I say shout out to some classic 70s rock and some 80s music so we can segue into that.
So, our boy Nicholas West, he's a fan of 1970s rock and roll.
I am a fan of 1970s rock and roll.
Okay.
Is that, are we using that as our music, or are we doing the 80s song?
Oh, I don't care.
Let's do
You
both.
can do whatever you want.
Let's do it all.
Oh yeah, we can do both.
Just take it
What
away.
70s bands do you like?
I'm a big Zeppelin guy. I like
Oh,
Pink
yeah.
Floyd. There's top two. I really like those two.
Pink Floyd, godly.
Stones.
I listen to Pink Floyd almost exclusively when I'm grading papers.
Really?
Wow.
Do you listen to the album at a time?
Yeah, Dark Side of the Moon
Oh, yeah.
or
Oh,
Wish You
so-
Were Here.
I feel like that makes
Or
sense
animals.
just because a lot of it is kind of like weird instrumental music,
Yeah,
and
you
less
can
just
kind of-
like.
Yeah.
and like
So I can kind of
that's
tune it
entertaining.
out and get in the zone for grading. So yeah, those are my
Smart.
soundtracks.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like Pink
Great.
Floyd doesn't like they don't like go to entertain like Zeppelin or like a lot of other rock bands do to like, but I feel like they're more conceptual and they want to like deliver a message. A lot of their stuff's like life doesn't really matter. Like
Yeah.
we're all gonna die. Like you
That's
think
why
you're
they're
going
the
somewhere.
number
You're
one
not.
psychedelic band or recognized psychedelic band because their music is meant for a very specific kind of I don't want to say like state of mind, but kind of like mood.
It attracts
Yeah.
the potheads. in a
Well, if
sense.
you've ever listened to Wish You Were Here, the way it moves from ear to ear is kind of interesting. If you've listened to it in headphones.
You're saying like within an individual song per se? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. Like I guess often I see people listening like headphones, like you have the one in and stuff like that,
And
Yeah.
you're
And
like,
I'm just
no,
like,
yeah.
you don't
Yeah,
even know
I
what's
know,
going on
yeah.
in the studio in
Right,
terms of
right.
like choosing, because like my dad's like, he does a lot with music production and like he was telling me like, he's like, yeah, usually you want to like, you're going to pan this stuff to the right, this to the left. Yeah, you want to keep vocals in the center. Like you could have like an acoustic on the right, like electric on the left, and then do this like that with the drum set. I'm like, I don't even know like that much thought
Yeah.
goes into it. And then I start hearing songs and making sure I'm listening to them with both in, and like it's amazing like the effect that it has. And sometimes I'll even go into my phone and switch it to mono for a second. I'm like, that's a different song. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
insane. So
I can't
Yeah.
listen to music with the earbuds. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't
Yeah.
sound as good for me.
I feel like as far as Dark Side of the Moon, that entire album is just one grand masterpiece that should really be listened from start to finish.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Because that's just like an experience in and of itself.
and also and watched with
The Wizard of
Wizard of
Oz.
Oz.
that's another
Yeah.
that's
I
another
even
Wait,
like
wait, what's it?
early Pink Floyd stuff, like the stuff with Syd Barrett. I think is still
Yeah,
is good
I like
too.
the
in
early
a-
stuff.
if I'm in the right frame of mind, a sillier frame of mind.
For those who didn't understand the Wizard of Oz
didn't
thing,
understand
named
it.
Nick West,
Oh.
Mr. Hart showed us a video and kind of this idea that if you start Dark Side of the Moon at the beginning of Wizard of Oz and you listen to it, the music technically syncs up with
does.
the movie, which is really cool. And I won't get into the explicits, but it's just like a really cool experience,
It's
apparently.
got almost like a theory
conspiracy.
sort of that they
Psychedelic
wrote it to
experience.
that or
Yeah.
Really?
So,
Oh,
yeah.
I've actually
basically
done that.
schools.
I've listened to Dark Side of the Moon and watched The
Really?
Wizard of Oz. And
It's
it
on
does-
YouTube with
And they have
the
it
whole
lined up,
album like
yeah.
lined up.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I thought was well done was when Dorothy's house lands and she opens up the door.
Yep,
and
that's what
there's
they that's what they
color.
showed us.
Yep.
The first thing
Yeah.
they showed us like for
It's
evidence.
the beginning of
yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Mr. Or no. What am I trying to say? Oh, yeah,
What are
Miss
you trying to
Shovelin
say?
told me
Yeah,
that
Miss Shovelin.
she would have to, back in the day, like sync it up perfectly, whereas now they have YouTube
Yeah.
videos where it's just already cut. So
Yeah,
that
like set up.
you can just
So
watch
I
it.
guess you have
Right.
like VHS
Yeah.
tape
And a record.
and a record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, a record. Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think it's really neat. And I don't know if Pink Floyd's ever, I don't think they've explicitly ever said we did this based off of The Wizard of Oz, or if it's just supposed to be like let the fans figure it out.
I mean, the fact someone was able to figure that out,
Yeah.
like, was someone listening to it at
Yeah,
the same
that's
time?
strange.
How's that-
It was
is there
probably
any-
like you
yeah,
said.
what does that even come from? Like,
Someone was probably smoking way too much,
Yeah.
oh
It's
yeah.
on something.
and they probably just like
Also,
But
realized.
still,
yeah.
what are the odds?
Yeah,
What-
yeah.
And what are the odds another
must have
Yeah,
just
that's
been,
what
album's
I'm
it
like
had
saying.
to be an
That's what I'm saying.
accident.
Yeah, think about
Yeah.
it this way. If you set an infinite amount of monkeys down an infinite amount of keyboards,
Shakespeare.
one of them will write Shakespeare. Why are you gonna blow it for? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so I mean, it could have been.
I think that coincidence, if it is a coincidence, is an argument for the way people want a narrative to change. Do you know what I mean? Like you can maintain your attention for a certain number of minutes, and then there has to be a shift. And I think Pink Floyd knew that intuitively, and I think the director of The Wizard of Oz, I don't know who that is. Do you know?
Come on,
Testing you,
Ooh.
Moo.
I even have it on Blu-ray.
Like that kind of narrative structure kind of
Yeah.
speaks to us as people that we need a change every
That's
so
kind of
often.
sad.
Interesting.
It's kind of sad that we don't know the
Do you know what I
director of
mean?
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand. Maybe
We're all looking it up right now, right?
not to get too
Here we go.
like intense.
Victor
but
Fleming.
maybe-
Sorry, Victor Fleming.
Knowledge.
That's his name.
Is he a one-hit wonder, probably?
I think he's made a few.
Let me see. It says it looks for directors. It says Victor Fleming and then 4 others. So that's
I know
interesting.
that the filming of The Wizard of Oz was a difficult. It was
Yeah,
a-
I
it was a-
remember
Oh,
hearing
but
about
that
that.
people died.
When the guy got
During
hung
the-
in the tree.
That's
that was
an
that
urban
was
Oh my gosh,
crazy.
that's
legend.
crazy.
That's an urban legend.
That's
Yeah, it was
So
But-
what was that?
I
urban
know the
legend?
Tin Man got really sick from his makeup.
Really?
Really, really sick.
Tin Man,
Classic
oh
Tin Man.
gosh.
How it's oh yeah, Moo played the Tin Man.
But that guy Victor Fleming, he also seems like he directed Gone with the Wind
Oh,
in
wow.
1939.
Wait.
Huh.
It says I don't know.
Michael Quitline.
Very different movies.
Excuse yourself. No, I'm kidding.
Basically, in the background of one of the scenes, I think it was with, who was it? Was it the?
It was the
Scarecrow?
jitterbug
It was
scene
one of
or
the-
whatever.
Well,
One
it
of
was,
the
it was a
scenes-
munch. Wait, are you talking about the munch?
No,
in the
you can
forest.
see in the forest in the background like an object like hanging from a
I
tree.
think people say it was like a munchkin that, or something like
Damn,
that.
Someone
they got
said,
mad.
yeah, someone
like
on
someone-
set like hung
yeah.
themselves.
Whoa.
I feel like that's just so.
There's no way.
There's so much going on set. I feel like there's like that's not that much of a special thing that like something would appear to be like
Yeah.
like an accident would happen or like
And
there's
if that
no
happened,
way it
I'm
was
sure
actually.
that they would have probably reshot that scene.
I mean,
Indeed.
that it was
Yeah.
dude, it's filmed, dude. I don't know if they were able
I don't
to.
think
like,
it's in
Speaking
the
of
movie.
film
It's
and
only-
Inglorious
If any of you-
Basterds.
If any of
Oh,
you
yeah,
have
it's only-
seen the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
course.
no Moo has. The last scene of that movie, it shows the bleachers, and it's like family celebrating, and then there's like a guy who just pulls his pants down.
Wait, what?
And you can find it on YouTube. Like, I guess they didn't reshoot it or didn't see it, but like,
Didn't see.
it's just like a.
And was it just a
bleacher-
random person, like
Was
not an
he-
actor?
Like an
Was-
extra, yeah.
an
And he just
extra.
like moons the audience. And I'm like, I remember watching it. I was like,
That's great.
oh no! Sorry,
That's
sorry. Not Fast Times. It was Teen Wolf.
Oh.
Okay, because I was gonna say.
No.
yeah.
There's no bleacher scene.
So
in
I've
Fast
seen that
Times.
movie, but not close
It's
enough.
like a piano
in this
film.
time.
Because-
To, oh yeah.
Not to spoil, but the Wolf wins like the basketball
Yeah.
championship, and it's the bleachers, and you know.
Oh man, I'm so sad.
Is it like
Teen
far
Wolf.
away? Kind of. Is it like? It's
Why'd
like
you
in the
spoil
distance?
Teen Wolf?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey, it's off Prime now, but
Oh.
so Nick, you like getting
Rock
out the
music.
lead? You like getting
Getting
the
out the
lead.
lead? That's a
Lead.
new term. Is that
No, it's not.
What?
You like getting the lead out?
Oh no way! I've never heard that term.
Oh,
All right. Well,
that's
in my defense, okay, no one that I know in my nuclear family, at least, has listened to Led Zeppelin enough to influence me personally.
That's very
It was
sad.
kind of like a personal discovery. So
Wow.
I'm really still like on my my amateur journey.
Yeah.
Kind of. I've listened to all their stuff. It's just
Really?
like
That's
just
cool.
more like it's hard to find like the cultural things too. Like
Yeah.
40 years later.
Do you have
Yeah.
a? Oh, sorry. Go ahead again.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say Robert Plant is one
Yeah.
of the best rock voices. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, he's very suited for rock.
Mm-hmm.
A
John
lot of my
Bonham?
drumming is based off of Bonham. The first album I learned on drums is Mothership.
If you call that an album, it's more of a
Yeah, well, the
compilation.
first.
Oh,
the
yeah.
girl
All
said.
right, you know what?
Learn some cashmere.
That was the first song I learned.
Yeah.
Did you learn is it
Dire
Deer
Maker.
Maker or Dire Maker? I've always called it Dire Maker.
I
But
say Dire Maker, and I think that's like one of their best songs, even though the lyrics are.
I like how it's
Weird.
oriental around the drums more so. Than
Oh,
anything
yeah.
else. That's hard to do.
It's kind of a
It's like the
Rasta feel.
If you've
Yeah.
ever seen John Bonham's drum kit,
he has that kettle.
he's got these timpanis on it. He's got this huge gong behind him, sitting behind him.
Amazing.
It's ridiculous. He's got this like old Ludwig Vistalite like see-through like orange kit. It's legendary. You pull up a picture of it. It's everyone knows whose drum set that is, and I think that's amazing. So
Mrs. Clay, do you listen to Zeppelin at all?
I mean, not really.
Bummer.
Sorry.
I know.
Bummer.
What are your thoughts on 70s rock as a whole, just like the transition from 60s to 70s rock?
Like, give me an example of the transition you're talking about.
Like, more of like from like Sinatra kind of music
Oh.
to like some Pink Floyd, that type
I
of
think that
transition.
it reflects the cultural changes that were happening at the time, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever seen This Is Spinal Tap?
Yes.
I think that movie kind of reflects the cultural changes as well, with the band, with the way the band moves from
Yeah.
like flower power to
Yeah.
Like metal almost.
Metal.
Zeppelin was kind of like the first like metal like hardcore.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Like,
real
I mean, the
rock.
first one was like 69, so it's kind of like the start of the 70s too.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what we were talking about with Pink Floyd. I feel like a lot of 70s music or 60s music was kind of counterculture, sort of psychedelic.
Because everyone was on acid. The Beatles
Yeah.
made the majority of their songs under the influence of LSD.
Really?
Especially
Yep.
The Magical Mystery.
Wow.
I think that every generation's music is a reaction to the music that came before. So I think you have like the grunge movement in the 90s was a reaction to the pop of the 80s, which was a reaction to the punk of the late 70s, which was a reaction to
Psychedelic,
you know,
yeah.
the
Which is a
psychedelic
reaction to
era
like the very kind of straightforward music of the.
of the 50s.
50s.
Yeah.
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 And
What would you say?
SoundCloud's a reaction to.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Today's music is well. I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, today's music is horrible because there could
I'll be that
Yeah.
guy.
there could be people in the future that would be like glorifying
I've
like
been
the
that
old
guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't like it. I mean, but you can't. When I like hear today's music, I'll think of like SoundCloud rap, but I know it's larger than that.
There's,
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely
Like,
more.
There's
yeah.
always good
I just
music
think of
coming
like
out.
Ariana
but
Grande.
what people are,
popular
yes,
stuff.
popular, yeah. What
The
people are.
radio
want.
sucks. It's like
It's so
really
bad.
Uh,
Just listen to
102.1,
90.1
man.
and if you listen to
90.1's the only, like,
96.5,
clean-
just there's the door. Just
I don't even listen to the radio.
I know the radio is
rock
like
song.
not even a thing anymore. I feel bad saying that, but it's like you either listen to Apple Music or Spotify, or in my case,
Jazz
Pandora.
requests.
Pandora.
Jazz requests Wednesday night 90.1.
Yeah.
Try it out. I submitted,
Is that
I
Temple's
submitted a
radio
request.
station?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Send it in.
It's
They,
great.
they shout you out. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, we got a request from
Downingtown. That's what they said. And they're like,
Wants us to play double,
double
dribble.
by Jason. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
great. Oh, good stuff.
It's cool.
I've been listening to a lot of Van Halen lately. If you guys
Oh,
like
Bill
that
and
kind
Ted's.
It's amazing.
of stuff. But yeah, it's like really just like pleasing to listen to. The album.
Sammy Hagar,
Sammy
or
Hagar.
David Lee Roth version.
Uh,
Which Van Halen?
I
are you
love
listening
I
David
to?
Lee
David
Roth, though.
Yeah.
I really do, and I think like
It sucks the path that
he
he
looks
went down.
cool. Like just like looking at old pictures of him, he's just like such a like
He's a
bad
showman,
dude,
that's for
like rock guy, and
He was.
yeah, like I was listening to the song Eruption the other day. I may have mentioned it.
Greatest guitarist.
That's just like so beautiful.
Yeah.
That guitar solo.
The first time I heard that, I was at I think what Joe Martino's house. He played it on his.
He just
his
rips
new
it
record
out on
player.
his guitar.
Oh yeah, no, he played it on
Time.
his like record. Oh yeah, he was playing it too
He
on his
played
own.
it on the
But he
guitar.
played,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
But he
insane.
played it on vinyl, and it literally like my head like erupted like
Oh,
with
yeah.
like
Crazy.
you know
That's
with
the
just
name,
like
yeah.
oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
classic.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that does not deserve any recognition.
Yeah, but I think that's very influential too. Like Joe just comes out, starts ripping that riff
Yeah.
out. It's the opening riff, right? In the song, it just starts out with that guitar solo.
Well, it's like a couple of drum hits, and then it's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
right in.
Shout
Stuff
out
like
to
that,
Joe.
like Hot for Teacher too.
Oh, that
Oh,
the
yeah.
intro with the drum. That's,
Oh.
Also, I think Hot for Teacher, the drum solo is amazing, but the guitar solo that follows the drums is super impressive.
Some people. Oh, sorry to cut you
Go
off.
ahead, that's okay.
But some people are like think that the drum solo in that was like, I think it was like doubled or something. Like
That
they
would make
had
sense.
People think
they
it's-
tracked
yeah,
over
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I don't know.
Because
But then there's
the
people
hits are
playing
like,
it, like one person playing it too. So it's like, I don't know if how it was originally recorded, if it was 1 or 2 tracks. But,
It's double bass.
oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But some people think that what's it called?
There's layering
There's
going
layering
on,
going
different,
on there,
different takes. You could
Yeah,
say,
yeah.
So can it be performed live then, I guess, is the question,
It's
right?
Yeah.
definitely has been, but I don't know if it's been the same. I haven't seen
No,
it.
I know
but-
what you mean, because it does sound like almost
Flammy,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
saying.
Quite, but like,
So they might. I don't know if it was an audio effect or maybe they recorded 2 takes and just like.
or what Bonham did for When the Levee Breaks, he recorded it in a huge mansion at the bottom of a stairwell, so it has like
Wow.
an echo effect.
oh yeah,
Echo.
okay, yeah.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Didn't Eddie Van Halen play guitar on Michael Jackson's Thriller album?
Did he?
I think he
I
did.
have
I
no
think he
idea.
did the guitar
I think
solo.
I've heard that. I think
I think he did the guitar solo for Beat It.
MJ,
Wow.
That's a crazy solo.
the real
That is
MJ.
amazing.
Carafa.
Oh, you right.
MJ Crawford.
I'm pretty sure he did. I think they were friends.
I believe it.
Thriller.
That's awesome.
Thriller, yeah.
Music video for Thriller's classic.
31 years ago, Eddie Van Halen collaborates with Michael Jackson for the colossal album Thriller.
Wow.
It's kind of a neat crossover there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very,
That's awesome.
Unusual.
yeah,
Yeah.
King of Pop.
People like Jimi Hendrix.
Oh,
like Jimi
Jimi
Hendrix.
Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix.
God.
Amazing. Oh yeah, quick story. I don't know if it's really a story, and I might have mentioned it to you guys already, but Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Dwayne Allman of the Allman Brothers, and Jim Morrison, my boy from The Doors, all died within a span of a few months apart from each other, which is super sad. I think it was like 3 overdoses and an accident.
And weren't 3 of them 27?
Yeah, well that's the thing. Like
What?
That's
3
That's
so
or
scary.
sold
was
to the devil.
27.
That's very
So they-
scary.
Coined the term kind of like 27 Club.
I think I've heard of
And
that.
It
Yeah.
wasn't really like popularized till Kurt Cobain
And Kurt Cobain was
Yeah.
killed
27.
himself when he was
He was
27. Yeah.
What?
Because they
That's
sold
So
their
was
soul.
Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, yeah,
She was
yeah.
also 27.
That stuff
It is
scares me,
scary,
man.
scary.
That's so weird.
I just like that whole movement is very strange. Like Hendrix was like a military guy, and then like he just totally switches to this like rock
Mm-hmm.
kind of guy. Jim Morrison, he was a mysterious man, alcoholic, and then he just moves to Paris, sort of out of nowhere, to become a poet, which is just weird. It's just, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot there.
They have some
Strange.
interesting death stories. What was it? Queen, they all had like AIDS, right? And they all
All of
Only
them?
Mercury.
or something.
No, they're all
Oh,
alive except for Freddie
no, yeah,
Mercury.
that guy
Yeah.
died from AIDS, and then there was I forget which band it is, but it's a rock band. One of their tour buses flipped over.
Is that Leonard Skinner?
Yeah, Leonard
Yes.
Skinner.
No, there was a plane crash. That was the-
Plane crash.
Plane crash.
There was a tour bus that like flipped over and someone died, maybe they all died, I forget. And then John Bonham choked on his throw up in his sleep.
Yeah.
He was
Well, that
drunk.
just
That's
sounds
how
like
Jimi Hendrix died.
a lot of
Yeah.
rock
Yeah.
and roll.
Yeah.
OD.
Yeah.
Hard living, right? Poor
Yeah.
choices.
Also,
Yeah.
I just think about with Jimi Hendrix especially. Think about the upside to his music if he had lived a full career. Like the stuff he could have produced is unthinkable.
Oh yeah, you.
And
Top of his game.
It's kind of a side comment. Jimi Hendrix, The Experience. Mitch Mitchell is an insane drummer, and I feel like I've been kind of trying to style my stuff after his kind of lately. He's really cool. And it's only 3 guys, so their sound has to be huge, all of them.
Yep.
So it's just neat to think about.
Going back to Poor Choices, specifically by John Bonham. Are we familiar with the Mud Shark story here?
Nah.
He's going blue again.
What's going blue mean?
Inappropriate.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
never
no.
mind.
All right,
No
well,
Mud Shark story.
I'd like to hear it, Nick.
No, it's actually
We'll save it for after.
We'll say yeah. We'll bleep the whole
Come to us.
Edit it.
Come to us if you want the
whole mud shark.
rated R
Come to
version.
just tell the story.
Just look it up on Google. I'm sure it's out there.
It relates to the story I shared earlier in the podcast.
Oh no!
Not to some degree, not to.
Hey,
Yes, I'll
Ozzy,
leave it there.
Ozzy Osbourne ate a real live bat.
A
okay?
crow.
Oh,
That was a crow.
It was a bat.
Turner.
It was a bat. It
Is it bad?
What was that?
was a bat.
Good for him.
Do you want to give a little preview of our
Recommend
guests
us.
next week and a recommendation.
I got a funny story about our recommendation and guest for next week. So, funny story is that Mike and I might have forgotten
Yeah.
to do something after school today, like go to said special guest classroom to find out our recommendation. But so I'll leave it at this. By Friday, when this is on YouTube, the recommendation is in the description
Yeah.
below.
Alright.
All
And
right.
timestamps.
And
Yeah.
timestamps. They came from Honolulu last Friday.
Yeah.
So, timestamps and recommendation is in the description. And drum roll, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Clay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Let's
I
go
really
to West.
we appreciate you
Welcome.
guys
My
coming
pleasure,
on.
dude.
Or should I say Mr. West?
Hey,
Ooh.
watch it.
Whoa, I gotta give them who the guest is.
Yeah, we gotta.
They gave it.
So, drum roll, please. Next week, we are 99% confident that our guest is gonna be Mr. Turner.
Yo.
Really?
Yeah,
Yep.
for real.
Oh, you
right.
didn't know that?
I didn't know that. I
So-
thought you got. Ooh.
Get him out. He's done. He's done. He had his shit right on the podcast. No, it's
Thank you so much for
Thank you guys.
Thank you for having
joining
me.
us.
I appreciate
This
it. It was
was
fun.
Thank you.
amazing. And yeah, Senor Turner next week, and hopefully we'll grab you that recommendation in the description.
Stay tuned.
Alright.
Damn.